I could while away the hours, conferring with the flowers, consulting with the rain. In my head I'd be scratching while my thoughts were busy hatching if I only had a brain.
Oh, yeah. That reminds me of Sarah Palin.
Does it?
Yeah. It reminds me of, Sarah Palin.
Can't imagine why.
If I only had a teleprompter.
She's so fucking dumb.
Hello, Salt Lake and rest of the world.
Hi, everybody.
Yo.
I'm Dan Ellis.
I'm the one and only Ryan Duffy.
One and only.
There might be another.
I'm sure there is, but there are no other Matt Mitchells.
Oh.
Actually, we all have very common first and last names.
Yeah. I told you guys earlier that there's a professional hockey player by the same name.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And
as me.
Said there was a serial rapist.
And my father was also a very popular mailman out on his route and was in the newspaper a couple times. So
there we go.
Yeah. Now he's retired.
Must be nice.
Calls me with computer questions.
Yeah. I get that from my grandfather. I had to send him an email on step-by-step instructions on how to click, highlight, and move a photo.
Oh my God. My dad is doing some sort of genealogy, something, right? So he's like, oh, and I saw that they didn't even have Uncle so-and-so and cousins Roger and whatever, if I can. He's pretty excited about all this genealogical work he's doing, and he's uploading photos of these people, or he's trying to. So he has a printer fax scanner multifunction, something that he's scanned some photos in, and then he's trying to add them to whatever website he's using. And he came over on Sunday for the family party, and he's like, so I'm clicking on it and I drag it over but then I get an X and it says no. How do I fix that? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what you're dragging from or to,
what
or
format it's in.
So we had this whole, little runaround on Sunday where he's asking me about it. And I have a fairly extensive DVD collection, right? So he asks me, have you got 48 Hours? One with Nick Nolte and Eddie Murphy, movie from the 80s. Classic. I love that movie. Anyway, I was like, oh, no, I don't have that one. That's one of the few that I don't have. And he's like, oh, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, I have a database of all of the movies that I have. I know I don't have that one. And he's like, oh, well, your grandmother and I just really want to watch that one. And, we've been sitting around and Nick Nolte looks just like your Uncle Rick in that one. And I was like, oh, yeah, damn, sorry, I don't have it. So that night they left, I got on Amazon.
Yeah.
And, first I contacted my grandmother. So I got on Amazon, found that Amazon does have it in stock. Then the next day, Monday, I called or sent my grandmother a Facebook message and asked her if either my father or she has a Blu-ray player. Because I thought I'll get them a Blu-ray if they have that. If not, I'll get a DVD. Of course, her response was, no, neither of us have a Blu-ray player because... my dad still uses a fucking answering machine, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
But it's digital. It doesn't have a tape in it. So I order a DVD and it's a twofer. It's 48 Hours and another 48 Hours.
Another Nick Nolte film?
Yeah. Well, it's the sequel to 48 Hours.
Oh.
And it also is a pretty decent flick. It's, it has Eddie Murphy and Nick Nolte in it also. So I ordered that through Amazon and I've got Prime shipping. So it arrived today. And he called me this afternoon and he's like, I just wanted to let you know that UPS stopped by the house and, there's this movie in there. I just wanted to call and thank you very much for that. That was very nice of you for thinking of us and doing that. And I was like, no, that's awesome. Finally something that I know you wanted and will like and that I could kind of surprise you with. And he's like,
that's cute.
I went all over everywhere looking for that. I went to Target and I went to Walmart. And I'm like, he's like, but... and I said, well, I contacted Grandma and asked if you guys had a Blu-ray player, and of course she said no, and he's like, no, yeah, we're stuck in ancient times, we just have DVDs, and I said, he said, we're not into all the fancy tech stuff, and I said, well, if you were into all the fancy tech stuff, you could probably just stream it online from somewhere, and I wouldn't even mail it to you.
Yeah.
no, I'm not going to watch it on my computer.
Like, no, you watch it on your TV.
Yeah, then I had to explain the whole, Apple TV, Amazon Fire Stick, Chromecast, all of the different things that you could
Roku.
use. The smart TV that he probably has hanging on his wall.
It's built in.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, then we went all that. And then he asked me about his printer again and went through all of that. But
Nice.
yeah, my dad is technologically challenged, but he's starting to learn some things. He's learned just enough that he's getting a little dangerous and starting to worry me like that.
Like he could build an atomic bomb on his computer.
Nowhere near that. No, just like that he would go in and start deleting different files. My mom did that a while back, like years and years and years and years and years ago when she first started getting into computers, and she's like, I don't know what's wrong with my computer. I went in and I was cleaning out a bunch of files because I was running out of disk space, and I found all of these files under a folder called Windows. And so I know that I don't use any of that, so I just deleted all of them. Now my computer won't run right.
It doesn't even come on.
That was bad, Mom. Okay.
Yeah.
I think I told you about my mom too, right? When, my mom and my dad, when we got them the Netflix account. I don't know if I talked about it on the show.
Oh, I don't remember this.
Oh, okay. So my parents basically, they're retired and they just kind of hang out and watch movies. And my dad's really proud of his, 28 DVD collection or whatever it is. He's got all these movies and all that. Anyway, but he was complaining about cable bill and all that kind of stuff. So Danielle and I just decided to give them our additional screen Netflix account with username and password, whatever. And so they can just log in at will and then do whatever, right? And so my mom, I talked to my dad about how to get it all set up and everything like that. And then my mom was talking to Beth, who's been on the show.
Yeah.
And was explaining to her, trying to inform Beth about this Netflix thing. And telling her all about it, and Beth's like, "Yeah, I know, Mom.
It's so cool."
And
I just click on it, and I have the movie to watch.
And she's like, "We get all these movies for free," and Beth's like, "It's not free."
Free to you.
And my mom's like, "Oh, we just use the free version." And Beth's like, "No, you don't. Matt and Danielle pay for that."
Yeah.
No, we just have the free kind of it. All these movies, and Beth's like,
like there's a free kind of
Never mind. Congratulations, Mom. I'm glad you enjoy it.
Yeah, enjoy.
You found the free Netflix account.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Then my dad, he's like, well, even if I get one of those things, then I gotta pay for it every month. And I'm like, well, you don't have to pay for the thing every month. You may have to pay for some services. There are a bunch of things you can do for free. There's tons of things that you can get for free with any of those deals.
Yeah.
But, if you wanted to do like Netflix, then that's a monthly fee, or Amazon Prime is a yearly fee, or whatever you wanted to do. But, you can still get tons of content just for free
way cheaper
through all
than
those. Yeah.
any provider gives you right now.
Yeah. And I tried to explain that, just the one DVD that I bought and sent him would pay for a month of Netflix, and he could watch, hundreds of movies if he wanted to and was so inclined or had the time on his hands.
Or TV series, or
Yeah.
you can watch all the Cosmos over and over and over again.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I hear they're pulling Scrubs from Netflix.
Really?
Oh, I'm glad I watched them all then.
Not that I've watched Scrubs really.
I
I've seen
always
a few
like
episodes.
I like that show.
like the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know tons of people who are huge fans, and I liked the episodes I saw. I just never really got into it.
I don't think anyone from that show went anywhere after the show.
Oh, Zach Braff has done.
So did Donald
Faison.
Faison.
Yeah, Faison.
What's he been doing?
He does comedy. He's been in a few
Well,
movies.
yeah, I'm like not like people. Some people leave a TV show and all of a sudden, like, boom, they're straight into another TV show, or they're doing big screen stuff all the time.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that they're unsuccessful though.
No, you just don't
think
see
they're-
them
yeah.
as much.
Well, Zach Braff does a lot of stuff behind the camera now.
Mm-hmm.
He's a lot of producing.
I think
or writing.
State.
he directs and produces, and
Yeah.
he was in a couple movies and directed and produced a couple movies.
Yeah.
I think he's the most successful out of the group after the show.
Could be, yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I think that was almost his show too, though.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, well, he was the main character.
Well, main character, I almost wanted to say like co-writing and idea man behind it a little bit.
Yeah.
A lot of those guys have done other. I mean, McGinley's done a lot of other stuff too. And
Who's that?
He's still working.
Was he the asshole doctor?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
The atheist.
Well, he was in
doctor?
a lot of stuff before that, even.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was. Yeah, but if you can tell from our intro, we're going to cover the straw man fallacy today.
Yeah. You could totally 100% tell from. If you couldn't tell from that, you're an atheist thing wrong.
And I dare say our transitions are
Lacking?
still terrible.
I think they're getting, well, they're much better than they were initially. But, I mean, we used to make a joke of the transitions,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, there's a transition. Like, oh, you weren't supposed to say that like that. Like, now it's
Well,
now
that
it's wasted.
it became a joke because it was our first official internet criticism.
That our transitions suck?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of that's kind of a weak criticism.
Well, there's a whole list of things from someone who didn't have a show at all.
Who is no
so-
longer a listener now after you heard us say that.
No. He hasn't been a listener for months, I'm sure, because I've called him out on a number of occasions.
That's true. Hey, if you think it's easy doing a weekly podcast, you come on and try too.
Yeah, we encourage all atheists to start their own podcast for sure.
Yeah. There's a lot of really good shows out there.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can do it better, I would love to listen to it.
Not only that, but the more verbal and out atheists get and become, the more we force religious people and conservatives to, well, religious people, we'll leave it at that,
Go forth and
to
proselytize.
listen to.
Yeah, we need to
our
outnumber
voice.
the Christian.
We don't have to. We don't
podcasts.
have to outnumber them. We just have to make them know that we're here.
Oh yeah.
We have to force them to recognize that we matter too.
Well, I want them to know we're here so we can start getting hate mail to read.
Well, and that
would be
atheists
interesting,
aren't
yeah.
some fringe element group. Like, I still hear from religious people fairly regularly that, they seem to have this flawed notion that there aren't very many atheists around, or
No, there's
that it's a really, really tiny group of people.
Yeah.
No.
Well, and that's irrelevant in American politics anyway. That's another flawed notion that majority rules.
Yeah.
And the fact is, we have a constitution in place to protect the little guy
Yeah.
from the oppression of the majority.
Correct.
And so they forget about that too.
or even on the news when they're like, oh, it's
Well, you guys are only 3% of the
Yeah.
population. So fucking what?
What?
We're
It's-
3% of the population.
I thought it's up close to like 10 now.
No, maybe it is, but I'm just saying when they want to,
Whatever number they
doesn't
throw
matter.
out, yeah.
Yeah,
It
but
doesn't- it
whenever
wouldn't
they
matter
throw it out like,
for
oh, it
49
doesn't
and a
matter.
half.
It doesn't matter. I mean, they're still a small group, so why should we care about that?
So I can walk all over them and treat them like shit.
Pretty much.
Even if we were 49 and a half, they would still be saying, well, we're the majority.
Yeah.
They would, which is why I bring that part of it up. But should we get angry?
I'm always angry. No.
No.
Well, yeah, because you're an atheist.
There's a fallacy right there.
No, that's just true. In fact,
That would be
that's
a straw man.
Oh.
Angry atheist would be a straw man.
Yeah. However, I would encourage everyone to listen to Greta Christina's talk about why we're angry.
I don't know that would be a straw man, would it be? Well,
If
let's
you use it
start
as
with
part of your-
let's start with the definition of what a straw man
Well,
argument
let's start with
is.
some newses first. And
Okay.
We'll get into
Oh,
straw
we're
man
going
later.
to tease him with the straw man.
Yes.
They're going to come out with pitchforks and fire, and they're going to burn that straw man down.
That's why it's called a straw man.
Let's start with the culture war battle, or so it's called, between the Mormon Church and this, what they call a partial truth between the LGBT community.
Is this about the recent conference they had, or the newses they put out there?
They're
Cheers.
yeah.
Their recent talkings?
Yeah, this had me yelling at my car stereo.
If I hadn't
I was-
been at work, I would have been yelling also.
But, all right.
I was actually in the office.
It starts with this. Convening a rare press conference on Tuesday at church headquarters in Salt Lake City, Mormon leaders pledged to support anti-discrimination laws for gays, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender people, as long as the laws also protect the rights of religious groups. I still don't know what that has to do with any of this.
They still want the right to discriminate against them.
That's the only thing I can tell. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Somebody posted a meme out on Facebook that I posted on my wall that basically says, here in Salem, Massachusetts, we would like to respect and honor the rights of witches to live here, but at the same time, we also want to protect the rights of those who would like to burn those witches.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the Mormon Church has offered what they call support for this, and then they demand an exchange in saying that they want gay right advocates and the government to back off. And this is a quote.
They're just as unconditionally loving as their Lord and Savior.
Yeah. And this is a quote from Dallin Oaks, who's a member of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles,
Yeah.
which is almost as high as you can get in the leadership. And he says, when religious people are publicly intimidated, retaliated against, forced from employment, or made to suffer personal loss because they have raised their voice in the public square, donated to a cause, or participated in an election, our democracy is the loser.
And that's so fucking wrong.
Yep. Well, this is a little bit convoluted, but he actually goes on to help us make the point because he starts to define some things he's talking about, which means absolutely nothing when compared to what he actually brought up here. Publicly intimidated, retaliated against, forced from employment, so on and so forth. So he'll go on to elaborate on that, and I'll do that. The Mormon Church is one of several faiths to complain about religious freedom coming under attack in recent years. Blah, blah, blah. Catholics and Baptists, so on and so forth. Public pressure on the Mormon... So Dallin Oaks is talking... he's talking more about people being forced out of positions because they're Mormon. And he cites public pressure on a Mormon gymnast to step down as an Olympic liaison in 2011 because he had supported California's Proposition 8, which banned gay marriage. Okay, so first of all, these are bad policies, including bigotry and denying rights. That's the issue. He just happened to be Mormon.
Well, and his statement and the statement from him, what was it? It was Oaks, Holland, and what is her name? The young women's or the fucking what's the women's group in the LDS Church?
It's the young women.
No,
the leader and she's in the 70, right? Or no, she can't be in the 70.
No, she can't be in the 70.
Neil Marriott.
Yes, yeah, Marriott. All of their statements betrayed the fact that they have a basic and fundamental misunderstanding of the First Amendment. The First Amendment guarantees you the right to say whatever the fuck you want. Yep. It doesn't guarantee you the right to not face repercussions for saying stupid shit.
Correct. Right. And everyone is allowed to believe any fucked up, stupid, dumbass thing they want, as long as it doesn't infringe upon the rights of others.
Yeah.
Right.
That's fine too. But you don't get to extend your religious freedoms when it starts to take away the rights of other people or becomes bigotry.
And Bill Maher did the same fucking thing, not on his most recent show, but I think it was 2 weeks ago. He was talking about, when people lobby supporters or contributors of Rush Limbaugh, when they lobby his sponsors to pull their sponsorship from his show, that hurts freedoms and everything. I'm like, no, that's an expression of freedom, motherfucker.
Yeah.
If you don't understand that you can't just say whatever the fuck you want and not have to face, the repercussions of those who disagree with you, the repercussions faced by those who disagree with you is the whole fucking basis for you being able to say that in the first fucking place.
Yeah.
You can say stupid shit, and then they have every right to say that you're a stupid asshole for doing that, and to tell the sponsors that they don't want to associate with the sponsors of the show where you're saying stupid shit. Right. That's what is guaranteed by the First fucking Amendment.
Yeah. And I think Matt Dillahunty has a great example to clarify this. Without anything else, it's just my right to swing my fist ends at the tip of your nose.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's what this is. And what they're lobbying, what the Mormon Church is lobbying for, is continued privilege and continued bigotry. And what they're doing is they're trying to use religious freedom as a way to continue being bigots.
Which religious freedom is. You have it. You have the...
Yes, they have it.
You do.
It's a multi-billion-dollar corporation that gives absolutely nothing back to society, and they want more.
Yeah, and I've said it before.
And they're not willing to relinquish 1 ounce of it.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ryan, go ahead.
Let's say, have you seen anyone arrested for preaching or for practicing religion? Have you seen anyone have a SWAT team storm into their house and stop them from practicing religion?
Or into a Mormon chapel.
Or kids having their Bibles ripped out of their hands and thrown into a fire.
Or be denied public office because they are religious.
Right.
No.
Right.
That is what religious freedom grants you, the right to practice your religion. That's it. Nothing more. You have every right to practice that religion.
Yeah.
Insofar
that's
as
your freedom of religion.
No one else, right.
Yeah, insofar as there's no harm done. Yeah, of course. But once harm is can be demonstrated because of that, your religious freedom stops, right? LGBT community has just as much right to fuck up their lives by getting married as anyone else.
True.
Yeah, well, and it pisses me off when I hear stupid assholes like Rush Limbaugh, talk about the sanctity of marriage and gay marriage will ruin and redefine marriage and whatever. This is coming from a fucking guy who's been married six times now, 7?
I don't know.
We stopped counting after
Cheated
2.
on how many of his different wives? I mean, how this guy has any fucking credibility or why any fucking asshole listens to him is beyond me. Well, and then to have Bill Maher fucking defend him and Bill Maher try to play this off as him being, as Bill Maher being rational and talking down to the rest of us as if we don't know what the First fucking Amendment means, and to have him do it while exercising the definition of the Dunning-Kruger effect fucking pisses me off.
Yeah, I mean, Rush Limbaugh and Newt Gingrich combined for more marriages than Joseph Smith had in his whole career.
So you even had the Duck
Joseph
Dynasty
Smith was
thing.
concurrent, but still.
When they pulled Duck Dynasty off because whatever TLC or whatever channel it was they're on, didn't like the comments that
I didn't either.
The old guy on the show was making. So they said, "Hey, we don't agree with those comments."
Yeah, it was the viewers voicing to TLC.
Yeah, like we're going to pull that because we don't agree with your comments.
Right, and the same exact arguments came out.
And they said, "Well, I have every right to say whatever I want. It's my religious freedom."
You absolutely do.
And
We
we have every right not to pay you.
If you didn't have that right, you would be in jail right now.
Yeah, and we have every right to not air your TV show anymore because we're in disagreement.
Yeah, we have every right to stop paying you for your bigotry.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah. So same thing here.
Yeah, I like a lot of what Bill Maher does, but he's so fucking stupid about some things.
I don't know. I still don't know how I feel about that guy. I think
I love the movie Religulous.
Yeah, he's all right as like a comedy writer and some of that stuff, and he's got some views that I agree with, but I don't think he's skeptical at all.
Oh no. Well, he would say that
but
he is skeptical. The rest of us aren't. We'll just take science's word for things, and
but that's a religious argument.
Yeah, and he's arguing from a position of ignorance that we need to be more skeptical. Like you can't know everything.
You can't know anything.
So you have to jump to these wild conclusions and make conjecture about things that could possibly happen one day, maybe.
Yeah, I don't like that kind of shit.
I mean, he's anti-vax.
Well, he backed off from that.
Well, on that same show 2 fucking weeks ago, he was talking about the flu shot again and said, "Oh, it's only 43% effective." Really? And you're injecting these chemicals into people and children, and it's only 43% effective. And I'm like,
better than zero.
Stupid.
Yeah,
fuck.
Chemicals that eradicate harmful diseases. Yeah, we're injecting those into people.
And that don't harm you in any way whatsoever. They help protect you from this. Yeah,
right.
This season it may have been less effective than in other seasons, but it was still fucking effective. How many lives did it save versus, well, I'm not even going to fucking do it because it wouldn't work 100%.
Dude, if I could trade having massive rashes and hives and bumps and shit from measles that take my life at 32 for, I don't know, 12 days of the sniffles when I'm 6. Yes, I'm going to do that every time.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's worthwhile.
Sometimes, that show in particular, I spent half of the show fucking screaming at the television and the other half laughing. And yeah, it gets frustrating sometimes watching somebody who can be so right and so funny on some things and so fucking horribly wrong on other things.
Then I don't get the flu shot anymore either.
And that's fine and dandy. I get the flu shot. I don't know that I've ever had the flu. I get the flu shot every year. I don't just get it to keep myself from getting the flu. I get it to help other people not get the flu in case I do get it.
Yeah.
That's where I'm lucky. If I get sick, I just stay home and there's no one else I have to see.
You could still potentially transfer that, but
well, yeah. I mean, how long do you carry the flu virus before you even before you display any symptoms?
Yeah, or even after.
Yeah.
Yet we freaked the fuck out about Ebola.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So many things.
But there was that one guy who contracted it within the United States, but she had direct contact with the patient and broke protocol.
Benghazi.
Benghazi did it.
Thanks, Obama. I think those symptoms of Ebola are a little more frightening.
Well, yeah.
Well, yeah,
that's
but
probably why.
the thing with Ebola is once the symptoms are showing, which you
Yeah, you're right,
realize
exactly.
that's the only time you're actually infectious.
No, I realize that, but I'm just saying, like, when you look at the flu and stuff, people don't tend to, because of vaccines, people now don't tend to think of that as a lethal infection, right?
Well, it is
but
for the
with
elderly and the
Ebola,
young.
and you're seeing people bleed out of their eyes and their butt and their, every orifice imaginable,
Yeah.
and they're sweating and passing out, and they're not, that's kind of terrifying. I think that's why, and it's
Yeah.
easy for media to hype that.
Well, yeah.
And so most people are just like, well, I heard it on Fox
Well,
News.
if you're really young or you're old and you get the flu and then you come down with pneumonia and all that kind of stuff, you basically, if you're boiling your brain you're overheating your body.
Yeah, well, and the people that are anti-vax here, I mean, they're mainly, young people to people in their 30s or 40s who have grown up their entire lives with the benefit of having, all of these horrendous diseases basically eradicated until they decided to start saying that vaccines were bad or somehow harmful, and then not vaccinating their kids, and now we're seeing huge increases in all of these diseases that were basically fucking gone, that almost didn't fucking exist anymore, have now come roaring back into existence because of these fucking retards.
Well, I've heard a lot of people say, like, well, no, measles isn't around anymore, so why should I get my kid inoculated against it? Because it's the inoculation that keeps it the fuck away.
Yeah.
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 Well, let's wrap up this thing on the fucking Mormons. I'll spare you a page or so of reading, but oh god, I lost my place. Okay, the official position of the Mormon Church is that same-sex attraction is not a sin, but acting on it is. Mormon leaders said Tuesday that they would not and could not alter their opposition to gay marriage, calling such unions, quote, contrary to the laws of God. I don't know how they know that. Quote, this commandment and doctrine comes from sacred scripture. That's how they know that.
It came from a hat.
We are not at liberty to change it. This is from Sister Neil Marriott.
And yet they change so many other
All
parts
the time.
of the Bible.
They will. This is exactly the arguments they made before they allowed interracial marriages.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the other thing, too, is that, I mean, even during this press conference, they said the LDS Church is not making any doctrinal changes, no changes in policy, nothing. I mean, this changes absolutely fucking nothing about the LDS Church.
Yep.
And this is the same thing that they supported back in 2009. I mean, it's been 5 fucking years, and they haven't changed their stance about it one fucking bit, and said so publicly even during this conference. And there are so many people who are like, oh, this is a revelation. It's so wonderful. They're so kind and forgiving and loving and willing to accept people now. They haven't changed a fucking thing,
It's the
people.
same
They just don't
phenomenon
want a
we
black
see
eye.
with Pope Fluffy. And it's exactly the same thing as we see with that. And it's the same thing we saw with the Mormon Church that didn't change their policy on the blacks having the priesthood until 13 years after MLK. Mm-hmm. It took them forever. And it's the same thing we see with this fucking cocksucking Pope we have right now.
They haven't
nothing different.
Like I said, they themselves said that they have not changed a fucking thing.
Yep.
It's the same thing that we've been hearing from them the whole time. The difference this time, and the reason they had a press conference, is because they wanted to make it all about, and when you look at the breakdown of the time they spent talking about the two different subjects, whether it was, if we contrast the time spent talking about equal rights for LGBT people or religious freedoms, they spent the majority of the fucking time talking about religious freedom and their self-perceived persecution.
Yeah, and
that's the only fucking reason they had this, was to talk about religious freedoms, basically.
Right,
They
and
haven't
then-
changed anything else. It was all about their stance on religious freedoms.
Right, and this supposed shift came when the Mormon Church came out, as we just read, and said, all right, here are our demands.
Yeah.
That was the shift.
That's exactly it. Yeah, they haven't changed anything doctrinally or anything about what the church believes. They've just added something else to say, we will do this if and when you say that you will also pass a law saying that we can continue doing everything we've been doing the whole fucking time anyway.
Yep.
They basically, when I hear religious freedom, I'd hear right to discriminate.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's what it boils down to in most cases.
In this case, for sure. Yeah. And then she goes on to say, but God is loving and merciful, as they've so clearly demonstrated. Jesus ministered to marginalized outcasts, wow, that's not condescending in
Yeah.
any sense.
Or basically, by inference, saying that all LGBT people are outcasts,
Marginalized
outcasts.
That's why I said.
And why are they
so
marginalized
condescending.
outcasts? Is it because of fucking churches like yours who
Right.
treat them as marginalized fucking outcasts?
Yeah, because the LGBT community isn't a multi-billion-dollar corrupt organization.
Ah,
By way of example, she said this while also obeying religious commandments. So, I don't know what that means, but
it means don't
What
touch
a-
it means don't touch your private parts with somebody else who has the same kind of private parts.
All that needs to happen is one of the quorum of the 12 apostles needs to have a wet dream with Jesus some night, and he'll tell them, being gay is okay, let them marry.
In my dream, I got on my knees to praise Jesus, and Jesus gave me the biggest surprise of my life.
I would imagine he wouldn't even have to make a fist. He could just use the hole in his hand.
I think Dan was going.
Jesus was well hung in more ways than one.
Nice. Nice. That really crossed a line.
We need
You're
those.
welcome.
We need those sound effects you're talking about earlier to do a little. But
Yeah, for all of our baby boomer humor puns.
You're welcome.
Oh man.
So, did you want to do more newses?
I've got some more newses. Let's go with this one.
Okay.
This should lighten the
This
mood.
one's my favorite.
Yeah.
I don't know what
you
it is.
read it already.
Michaela Salt.
Wasn't there a movie about her starring Angelina Jolie?
Yeah, called Salt.
Spelled differently. An 11-year-old Canadian girl who refused chemotherapy treatments in favor of faith-based alternative after seeing a vision of Jesus is dead.
Oh, I'm surprised.
Was he on the toast or
It's a
the
girl.
bagel? No, the vision
Oh,
of Jesus.
Yeah.
Or in the mold or in a tree.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this...
On a dog's butt.
Yeah, I know what you're
It
saying.
makes a
I have a
difference.
hard time because to me, this is all her parents' indoctrination that's
It is.
causing her to make these decisions. And she's fucking 11, dude. You know what I mean? Like, and now she's dead.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, she can't decide whether she's going to smoke, watch pornography, drive, join the military, have a drink of alcohol, but she can make a decision about whether she should have potentially life-saving medical procedures.
And in here in the U.S., unless you're a Christian Science person that follows that no medicine bullshit, the parents would be going to court over
Neglect, endangerment.
and rightfully so.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And not often enough, even in this country. Suffering from acute lymphoblastic leukemia.
Cute.
There was nothing acute about it.
No,
Yeah, well-
it was a ugly.
She had a 75.
It was a skanky.
No, but listen to this though. She had a 75% chance of survival with
yeah.
chemo.
That's very good.
That's not 100%.
So fuck it.
Yeah, well, it was 0% with
Yeah.
God. So
Yeah.
under the guidance of her parents, petitioned her doctors to stop chemo treatments after her quote vision of Jesus. The treating hospital referred Salt's case to the authorities, who ultimately decided that Salt would be allowed to abandon modern medicine for ineffective alternative treatments, effectively sentencing the child to death. And I think that
In a very
those
painful
officials,
death.
this is me talking, those officials should be held accountable for that.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
This is an 11-year-old girl. I don't care what she tells me she sees.
Her and the parents should be held accountable for
Well,
that.
the parents should
she
be.
can't be held
the
accountable.
parents should be in prison
Yeah.
forever for the rest of their lives.
Yeah. And this raises a couple other ethical questions, not the least of which is how do we decide when a person is old enough to make these types of decisions for themselves, and then how do we determine if it's okay to have somebody say that they just want their life to end? I mean, that's basically what she said.
Yeah.
You know, she
if
didn't actually say that. I
No.
mean, she thought that she would live through the
Yes.
power of Christ.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
The
totally
power of
different.
Christ compelled her
Now,
in the wrong direction.
If she had said something like, "I'm in incredible pain," you know, this isn't worth continuing. I don't like my chance, whatever, and then that becomes a whole nother. I mean, she's still 11, but I mean,
Yeah.
but then it becomes a whole nother thing to talk
Right,
about.
because
But-
her argument wasn't that she wanted to die; it was that she wanted to live. But through all the
means.
wrong fucking means of achieving that goal.
Well, as far as I can tell, is the fault of her parents. Mm-hmm. And her parents should have, even if her daughter thought that, they should have. Look, if this was my kid, I would step in and say, Brandon, look it, dude, you need to do this. You know, I want you around, right?
Well, was this solely her choice, or were her parents vocal?
I'm betting the parents were pushing it a little bit, at least.
Yeah, I mean, what were her parents' views in all of this?
Because we have
Salt, under the guidance of her parents, petitioned her doctors to stop chemotherapy treatment after her vision of Jesus.
It was their parents.
Mommy and Daddy and Jesus all say that Jesus is going to save me, so I'm putting my hands in Jesus.
What else do you expect an 11-year-old to do?
Letting him take the wheel.
Children are pretty obedient at that age.
Yeah.
You know? So she is doing exactly what a good child should do, and she's putting all of her trust, I mean all of it, her life's trust in her parents, and they failed her big time.
Yep.
In the biggest possible way.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I do know that with like the whole death with dignity thing, you know, you got the criteria for that where you're basically terminally ill. There is no coming back. It's like, you are going to die from this. This is going to kill you. Just, do you want to be medicated and have that just slowly kill you, or do you want to just let it take you now?
Mm-hmm.
I know over in Europe, I can't remember which country it was over there that passed the law where you could actually do it if you're under the age of 18. Because most places, like here in the U.S., I know Washington State does it, and I think Oregon does it.
I know Oregon does. Oregon has a compassionate care.
I think they're the only two places in the U.S. that I know of. I'm probably wrong on that. That you can actually do the.
I don't know if you're wrong on that or not, but
yeah, I don't know either. I know Oregon has a law for it.
Well, because I know that's where the last woman that was all over the news for doing it, who was like 23 years old, had that horrible illness.
She had a brain tumor.
Yeah, she moved from California to Oregon in order so she could make that choice herself.
But that's completely different.
It is completely different.
11-year-old who's taking the advice of her parents.
Yeah,
the 11-year-old parents should be going to jail.
I agree. And listen to this: after Michaela's tragic, and they add needless death, I agree. On Monday, from a stroke, Salt's parents released the following statement. After a valiant fight, almost a year from diagnosis, 1 year, she had 75% chance of living. Our daughter, Michaela Salt, suffered a stroke on Sunday morning that she just couldn't recover from.
Well, they say after nearly a year, as if you know, they expected her to die a week after being diagnosed. Like God kept her alive for almost a full year.
Well, and then
before he decided to call her home.
They continued to say, surrounded by the love and support of her family, her community, and her nation. On Monday, well, by the wording of this report, I don't think she had the support of her nation, but
no.
On Monday, January 11th, Michaela completed her course. She is now safely in the arms of Jesus.
What harm is there in having religious beliefs?
Yep. What's the harm? Why don't you just let everyone believe what they want? What's the problem? What's the harm? Because 11-year-olds are dying and getting raped.
Or you got whole families poisoning themselves.
That was the other bit of news.
Yeah, that happened just this past week when the medical examiner's thing came out. The whole family, it's here in Utah. I'm trying to remember what town it was in.
Springville,
that's what I thought.
Yeah.
They poisoned themselves, poisoned the kids because they thought there was an apocalypse coming, and they didn't want to be here for it.
I could be wrong. Isn't Springville, Utah County?
I think so. Yeah,
in the shadow of BYU.
Yeah. It's actually. Yeah, it would be
just outside of Momo Central.
One of the more, probably the higher concentrations.
I'm curious to know, does it state which? I know that the parents were religious. That's what led to the whole to the whole deal. Does it say what religion
didn't say religion they were? No, they probably saw a man on a white horse, though. I bet. They're like, oh, it's coming.
Mitt Romney's running again.
It was actually Putin they saw. Without that shirt on, you could think it was the devil.
I'll just wrap up this article.
I have so many things about that circling in my brain. I can't get them all out.
This says that oncology sources contacted Monday night by the National Post said that Michaela's specific cancer is not consistent with a fatal stroke unless the cancer had spread to her brain. In fact, although Michaela's family claims her death was due to the chemotherapy
that she wasn't receiving.
I know. Last September, McMaster oncologist testified that Michaela had suffered a relapse. The doctor also testified that there are no known cases of survival of all without a full course of chemotherapy treatment. So Not only does the family say she doesn't need it, but they blame it for her death after they pull her off of the only known way to
mitigate it and possibly cure it.
After abandoning modern medicine, Michaela's only hope for life, Michaela was taken to Hippocrates Health Institute in Florida, a licensed massage establishment. Currently being sued by former staff who allege the company's president, Brian Clement, is operating a scam under Florida law and practicing medicine without a license. Michaela's case was complicated by... I'm shocked it's Florida. Michaela's case was complicated by politics due to her family's indigenous First Nation status. Previously, in an interview with CBC, her mother said, "As a member of the Six Nations Confederacy, I will not have my decisions of healthcare for my child debated and judged in the Canadian judicial system."
Yes,
the Canadian judicial system does not have the authority to determine our law or practices, or which predates the existence of Canada, valid or otherwise. Ultimately, the Canadian courts abandoned Michaela to the ignorance and religious superstition of her parents with tragic consequence. And again, another case where religion takes precedence over law and loses.
Well, and harms a fucking 11-year-old girl in the process.
Killed her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't just, ultimate harm.
It killed her.
Yeah. And the thing that drives me this whole story bothers me a lot, but the thing that drives me the most crazy about this is how fucking juvenile and defiant her parents are in the face of losing their 11-year-old child.
Yeah.
They still stand there and blame everybody else and claim that, the evidence is right in front of you, and you're talking about how it was the chemo that did it, and it was the judicial system. We're not going to be held.
Well, the only alternative is to admit fault and say, yeah, we were fucking stupid.
Yeah.
We were fucking stupid, and because we're stupid and superstitious, our kid is dead.
Yep. But that's exactly what happened.
But if they were good fucking people, they would do that.
They wouldn't
say,
have.
Please,
this wouldn't have been a problem in the first place if they were good people.
Yeah, well, and they would say, well, I mean, even after the fact,
Yep.
if they were good people, they would say they would come forward and say, we were fucking stupid. Please, 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 don't anybody else follow in our footsteps. Please, 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 don't anybody else allow this kind of superstitious bullshit to cloud your thinking in trying to save your child.
Yeah.
But they still hold on to that superstitious bullshit.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's what bothers me is that there doesn't seem to be any sort of. They're not acknowledging the death or the
there's
loss.
There's no contrition at all. There's no. Yeah.
Well, and the thing that's weird too is they're appealing to the fact that they were there before the Canadian government. Fine, fair enough. Yes, okay, nobody is disputing that. But then earlier you said he's in the arms of Jesus. Where did you get Jesus from?
Yeah.
Right? So fuck you. Go to chemo.
Jesus was there first.
Fuck you. Go to chemo.
Yeah.
That's what I wish the doctor would have said.
Is that a shirt? Yeah, the doctor should have said that.
Fuck God.
Go to
You're
chemo.
going to chemo. Get in that chair now. We're sticking a fucking needle in your arm and we're giving you fucking chemo.
Yeah.
You want to live or you want to die?
And that's what the parents should have said. Fuck you. Go to chemo.
I would have told the little girl.
And that's not the shaman in the hut next door.
Yeah.
I would have told the little girl, like, do you want to get out of school today? Get chemo. Guess what? You get some of that chemo, you're out of school for the whole week.
That would be a weird shirt.
No homework.
Got chemo?
Fuck you, get chemo. What? Do I need chemo? You got anything, Rye Guy?
No, I think the only things I was really going to talk about was that, and then the thing in Springville.
Can we talk about Sarah Palin again for just
yeah, bring that up.
Let's.
Because, there were all of the people's talking about how fucking stupid Sarah Palin is after the little conservative gathering that they had hosted by Representative Steve King.
I think that was their freedom rally, like their religious freedom type rallies.
Well, it was a conservative.
Usually, if it's conservative, it's got the word freedom in it some fucking place.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. You can talk to Phil some air while I'm looking this up. It was a conservative thing held recently in Iowa by Steve King, who, if you don't know, is not the sharpest fucking knife in the drawer.
Yeah, he was that nut job that was trying to pass some really I remember talking about him on one of the podcasts, him trying to pass some fucked up, weird, archaic, religious bullshit laws.
Well, yeah, so it was, let's see, GOP 2016 hopefuls gather in Iowa for Steve King's, and I'm trying to pull up the goddamn article.
Did you happen to see what one of the Democrat things put up after her speech? Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah Palin, for going on camera and displaying just how fucking woefully stupid you are.
I didn't know the teleprompter even broke. I mean, I thought that was just what she wrote down. And she was reading it verbatim.
So typical of the conservative named things. This was called the Iowa Freedom Summit. The event, organized by Iowa Congressman Steve King and conservative advocacy group Citizens United, boo, was the highest profile gathering yet of likely 2016 candidates for president, and its organizers billed it as an unofficial kickoff to the Republican primaries. Speakers included Chris Christie, meh, Scott Walker, boo, Ted Cruz, big fucking boo, Rick Santorum, frothy mixture, Rick Perry, how you doing, I'm dumbass, Mike Huckabee, I'm a religious dumbass, Ben Carson, Carly Fiorina, and Sarah Palin, yay, among others. Let the pandering begin, Iowa radio host Jan Mickelson joked in the evening's opening speech. Walker, Scott Walker that is, who has intrigued Iowa politicos with his Midwestern roots and national profile, delivered a polished speech touting his brutal fight to curb collective bargaining rights for public sector unions and subsequent recall election. And he went on to say that he thinks it sends a powerful message to the Republicans in Washington and around the country. If you're not afraid to go big and go bold, you can actually get results. Yeah, results that fucking cripple your state's economy, dumbass.
Oh, yeah. And also, Dropkick Murphy told him to get fucked and stop using their music.
Yes, that was cool.
Yeah.
The Dropkick Murphys, yeah. Trying to get to some of the parts where...
You know, it's kind of interesting how this party's evolving. You know, I mean, they keep having to elect or put forward candidates who are further and further to the right. I mean,
more and more crazy.
Like,
this was a Tea Party summit,
right? But I mean, especially but when you're talking about like state, you know, traditionally Republican states like Texas, Utah, things like Tea Party's almost not even enough. You know, and they have to keep getting. You know, they got to squeeze the neck of Americans that might possibly vote for them even more to stick to their bigotry and their discrimination and all this kind of stuff, while they're alienating a whole number of other people who would normally vote Republican, even far right Republican. They're alienating,
which is why we love them.
Yeah, well, I know, but I'm just saying it's such a bizarre strategy.
You're driving your party off of the fucking cliff.
Yeah,
thank you.
It's really weird.
This goes on to say, meanwhile, Huckabee, who won in 2008, has gone the opposite route of Santorum, who stated that, quote, "We don't win because too many people think we don't care about them." No, we don't think that. We know it. Mm-hmm. You display it all the fucking time. Anyway, Huckabee went the opposite route. Recently, he suggested states could potentially ignore a Supreme Court decision legalizing gay marriage and criticized President Obama for exposing his children to Beyonce's sexy dance moves and lyrics.
What?
They are the Supreme Court, Huckabee said in his speech, not the Supreme Being.
Oh.
Sarah Palin got on stage.
Except all of them rule in favor of Supreme Being every time, so go ahead. What did Palin have to say?
Sarah Palin got on stage, who has said this past week she is considering a run for president. Oh my God, that would just be so wonderful.
I can't wait to see the debates.
I would probably yell and scream at my television and maybe break one or two, but it would be like a wonderful, fantastic, rainbow sharding unicorn train wreck. Like,
I can see her answers everything. Well, you know what I'll do? I'll get in there and get it done.
That would put bad lip reading out of work, because they couldn't. There was nothing they could change. They'll just be like, this is perfect.
They'll just put animal noises in.
Yeah.
So the story goes on to say, Palin, who has said that she's considering a run for president, enthralled and confused the crowd with a long, winding speech in which she called Obama an overgrown little boy and touched on topics ranging from immigration to the film American Sniper. Screw the left in Hollywood who can't understand what we see in someone like Chris Kyle, Palin said, referring to the late Iraq war sniper whose memoirs inspired the film. Yeah, if you haven't seen any of the clips of her up there talking, apparently her teleprompter broke. And so she just started winging it. Oh my God, it was just... Tracy started playing clips of it from The Daily Show last night. And I was both amused and angered and frustrated, and I had such a wide range of emotions. Sarah Palin makes me very emotional.
Jon Stewart's a big fan too, I gather.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Sarah Palin was she went off the rails, just fucking. I mean, I saw a couple of quotes from her, and I was telling you guys earlier. I mean, she starts with one thing, jumps to another, doesn't tie the two together.
Yeah. I
mean, it's so awful, and it betrayed just how fucking dumb she is. Like she's knuckle draggingly dumb. Yeah. I wonder who ties her shoes in the morning.
Yeah, I actually went and saw that American Sniper movie the other day.
How was it?
It wasn't bad. It's a good movie.
Yeah.
Now, I've also read Chris Kyle's book.
Yeah.
It is nothing of the book.
Well, and apparently his book is so riddled with falsehoods.
Yeah.
As to be...
But it's a book.
Right.
As to soon appear on Oprah Winfrey's book list.
But...
that's how false it is.
90% of the premise of the movie had nothing to do with his book.
Well,
it was all made up.
In the book, didn't he claim to have punched Jesse Ventura in the face?
But he doesn't name Jesse Ventura in the book.
Okay.
He never says his name in the book.
He says Scruffy Face or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Right?
Yeah, he uses a different name.
But then later in radio interviews, he named him as...
Yeah, but in
Scruffy
the book...
Face is Jesse Ventura.
Yeah, in the book, he doesn't actually name him.
Yeah. All right.
Or he also said he was killed 30 people from the roof of the Superdome during Katrina.
Okay.
Yeah, the government hired him to go and kill looters.
Which they're like, no, we didn't.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if I trust...
As if that wouldn't have gone on the fucking national news everywhere.
I don't know if I trust either source, though. I mean,
well, think about it.
the White House, or
if you heard that 30 people had been killed by a sniper,
yeah, sure,
yeah,
in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina.
Also, then you have this ex-wrestler that's like, I've got factual information, and you're like, I don't know if I believe that guy either.
In the field.
Yeah, I don't know if I believe that guy either. So,
yeah,
like it doesn't ruin the movie, but when he shoots the kid in the movie, that never happened in the book. There's even a part in the book, I had to go back and find it, where he's like, because there's an RPG scene where a kid does pick up an RPG. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I wouldn't have shot the kid. I cannot kill a child.
Yeah.
Because I just couldn't do it. Because there's no way I could have shot that kid. But yet in the movie, it depicts him shooting a kid.
Okay. I mean, but it's Hollywood, though, yeah?
It is. It's a Hollywood version of him. They made up a plot line in the movie that's never even in the book. They made the movie's a made up version of the only thing that's real. There was a guy named Chris Kyle.
Yeah. Okay.
Suffered from PTSD, and they covered that part pretty well. The PTSD side of it. If anything, that was the best part of the movie, was kind of demonstrating what PTSD does to someone.
Interesting.
Yeah, she's a fucking nut job.
Well, since you brought up Mike Huckabee
and Chris Kyle, I appreciate and understand the things that he did to a large extent, and I've read several articles about him now that say you kind of get caught up in this whole heroic narrative that it almost leads to embellishment.
Well, and he even writes in the book, like in the opening, saying, "I didn't want to write a book. I don't like talking about my military career. This was not my choice." Because I did not want to do this,
which is horseshit. I mean, he ended up if he didn't want to do it,
60 people.
If he didn't want to do it, all he had to do was not do it.
But a big paycheck was probably flagged in front of his face. He's like,
"Well, sure,
I need the money right now, so let's do this."
Sure, and I mean, but what's the other story about him shooting and killing two guys at a gas station?
Yeah, that were trying to rob him,
and then the police show up, and he shows them his ID and tells them to call the NSA or CIA or Pentagon or whoever.
Never any report of
and so the police call and they're like, "Oh, you can't arrest him. He's an American hero. He's killed several people. You should let him go."
He's just like you guys.
Yeah.
He's just like, if he hadn't been there, you would have certainly shot and killed these 2 young men.
He's seen several brown people carrying pears and claimed they were grenades. One and the same.
Yeah, there were a ton of things in his book.
Ryan was just nodding, by the way.
I was like,
ex-military and a firefighter, so.
Yeah, but I fought fires. I didn't really get into firefights.
Oh, nice. Wow. Clever. But still.
Little twist of the words.
Yeah.
Should we get into the Hucka business?
Yes.
All right. Former Fox News host Mike Huckabee said on Thursday that if he was elected president, then he would have God's blessing to fight so-called secular theocracy.
10 years ago, I had a teensy bit of respect for Mike Huckabee. He seemed like a nice guy.
Yeah, he's gone a
who
little
was being
crazy,
genuine and really wanted to help and seemed concerned about things and was willing to take an honest look at everything. Now he's just turned into a crystal fascist fucking asshole.
Well, you have to compete in the Republican Party.
Oh
these
my
days.
God!
That's what we were just talking about.
But he's not just competing. He's like picked up the banner and is leading the pack.
Yeah.
Going, let's be as dumb as we fucking can.
Yeah. Well, I just want to see if anyone else has as big of a problem with this statement as I do. He wants to fight so-called secular theocracy that had been imposed by atheists.
How does a secular theocracy work?
And how does any theocracy be imposed by atheists?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. They can, on the one hand, they say that we're this tiny minority who people shouldn't listen to or respect. And on the other hand, we're taking over.
Yeah.
Because we're that fucking powerful.
And we've taken away all the religious freedoms, and we're under attack by all these thousands of atheists.
Yeah.
And he's also saying...
There are dozens of us. Dozens!
But he's also saying he's opposed to a theocracy.
Yeah.
If it's not his.
Right.
So
we don't want...
That's theocracy, right?
We
Because
don't want
you
an
know.
atheist theocracy, which doesn't make sense.
That's what he's saying.
Yeah, but doesn't make sense.
No, actually, he's saying he wants to fight what's already considered a secular theocracy imposed by atheists. It's so much nonsense. It's
secular theocracy is
it's
an
already
oxymoron.
it's already
an
nonsense,
oxymoron.
and then it's imposed by people who don't believe anything. Dude, what are the words?
He's a more well-spoken Palin.
See, the great thing about
maybe so.
Secular society is the Christians can live all good, and the Jews can live all good. The atheists can live all good.
because they have to allow people who love each other to get married under their in the same society as them. That's not.
But they
nice.
can practice their religion in peace.
Yeah, I mean, if we had some utopian, idyllic society that was secular, it would mean that everybody did just live, without your religious convictions or beliefs playing any part in how you governed, how you treated people, who you serviced in your business, who you let live in your home, who you married, any of that. It wouldn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
And so for him to say a secular theocracy is so fucking weird and warped and twisted and dumb.
Yeah. During an appearance on the Christian Life Today program, Huckabee told televangelist James Robinson that he was considering a 2006...
There's that name again. We were talking about my buddy James Robinson.
Huckabee is considering a 2016 presidential bid because the country needed to become a God-centered nation that understands that our laws do not come from man, they come from God.
Just like their book that came from man?
Nope.
But he's not talking about God. He's talking about Christians.
Well, and he's talking about his very specific brand of Christianity.
Correct.
One of 1,000.
One of almost 40,000.
Yeah, almost 40,000.
Yeah. The short-sightedness blows me away, right? I just turned 33. This guy just turned 300. And I can see the problems in what he's trying to propose.
But if you're pandering towards the Christian side, they love it. They're eating it up.
Okay, fair enough. But if it's pandering, how do you know that that's really a benefit for the country?
And I wonder too, like, do they really even know that it's pandering? Do they realize they're pandering, or are they so self-centered and enclosed in their tiny little religious bubble that they don't have any fucking clue that the overwhelming vast majority of people around them think they're fucking nuts?
Well, I think it is like I was reading the thing on KSL the other day where state legislators actually said it's not in election season, so we're going to raise taxes. So they'll pander to all the voters the whole time saying, less government, we need to lower taxes. And they run on that campaign and they get in and they're like, well, it's not an election season right now. We got another few years till another election. So let's raise taxes now so they'll forget when the next election comes around.
And they can do that because the American populace is largely is largely apathetic and very, 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 very short-sighted. They lack any kind of memory or understanding of time scale and repercussions of these different political actions. They look at what was in the news today. Yeah. They raised taxes last year, but nobody's talking about that today.
Yeah. Yeah. He goes, well, first I just want to say I just turned 33, so I have 12 months to make sure I don't get nailed to a cross to be better than Jesus.
Woo-wee!
So we're at the finish line here.
I'll be keeping my eyes open them cross makers then.
Yeah.
And a gang of Jews.
Ooh,
there's some crazy Christian out there listening who's like, challenge accepted.
Yeah.
He's going to be stalking Utah. Where's Matt Mitchell? I've had this cross in the back of my car for 11 months.
It'll be that crazy fucker who stands outside Temple Square with his goddamn goat's horn or whatever.
I'm not, dude. If it's that guy, fine. If it's that guy, fine.
God will not be mocked.
Yeah,
except when I do it, like every fucking day, all day long.
As he calls for his eagle army and orc army reinforcements on his Gondor horn of Gondor. He's
Can we go down there one day and find this guy and do a street?
Oh, sure, yeah. He's out there. Well, he's out there whenever they do. He's out there for every conference session, and
But no, have us go up to him and hold the camera.
That would be a lot of fun.
And talk to him.
That would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Watch him blow his horn and yell at people. Mormons are crazy. You're an atheist. Oh my
God. So Huckabee goes on, and actually, I don't think there's a single word of, this whole thing makes no sense to me, right? He says, it's the natural law of God, adding that he was not calling for a theocracy. Well, first of all, yes, he is.
He just said it.
Yeah, but second of all, this is first of all, he says, it's the natural law of God. Right, so which is it?
That's a made up thing.
Is it natural law or is it
God's law? Yeah, because those are not the same thing.
No.
There's natural and then there's supernatural.
Yes.
Right? If God was natural, science would be able to test it.
Yeah.
Science can't test it, so it's supernatural.
Walking on fucking water ain't natural.
What was it that Christopher Hitchens said? And I'm trying to remember who he said it to. I think it was Sean Hannity. And he said something like, you strike me as a person who has never read
an argument for the other side.
Yeah, who's never read anything about any argument against your own.
He actually sort of condescendingly apologized at first. He's like, I'm sorry I have to say this, but you strike me as a person who's never read an opposing argument.
You strike me as stupid.
I saw that and I was like, oh my God, that was so beautiful.
That's one of the Hitch slaps. Yeah. Yeah, that was a great one. And Hannity's like, oh. I think it was that same conversation where Hitchens was like, "Don't tell me to be quiet. You had me on your show, sir.
You invited me.
To be a guest to speak. So don't. So and he's just like, oh. I think a hair is out of place. So Huckabee goes on to say, we have a theocracy right now.
It's a Christian one.
It's a secular theocracy.
What? How does that work?
It doesn't.
I would like to know what his explanation is or his line of thinking.
It's a humanistic, atheistic, even antagonistic toward Christian faith theocracy.
Atheistic, fine. Humanistic, super good.
Mm-hmm.
Antagonistic, if your beliefs can't handle fucking being mocked, what does that say about your beliefs?
Yeah. I would say if the government was humanistic, atheistic, and antagonistic toward Christians, that would be the most objectionable part. It should be neutral toward it.
Right.
But other than that, it's better than what we've had since McCarthy.
Mm-hmm.
That fuckhead.
Wisconsin.
Yeah, he is from fucking Wisconsin. The fucking
our basic fundamental rights are being
McCarthy
robbed
Irish?
From us. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. A lot of Irish people tend to be more conservative. Actually,
yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Russian hating.
Yeah.
Potato eating drunks.
Yeah.
Fucking racist. All right. Huckabee goes on to say, our basic fundamental rights are being robbed from us, taken from us piece by piece.
How?
What he means is our privilege, our
Yes.
religious privilege, our white,
Our
straight,
ability
rich,
to
religious privilege is being taken from
discriminate.
us. Yes.
Yeah, again we see
Our
again we
bigotry
see
is not being allowed any longer.
They already took our slaves. Now they're going to take our discrimination away.
again we see somebody mistaking privilege for rights.
Yep, exactly. Robinson went on to say that people should pray that whoever was president would keep God in the center of their focal point. Huckabee agreed
In the
by
crosshairs?
saying, yeah,
Come on, Chris Kyle, give him the
yeah.
scope.
I got him dead center. Got to adjust for wind.
3 clicks to the left. Huckabee agreed absolutely, and whether it's me or someone else, and I do ask people to pray. For me, this is not just a political or financial decision; it's a spiritual decision.
Sure, it is.
Yeah, what does that even mean, sir?
It means he had a Jesus wet dream one night.
Okay. Hey, is that what Jesus?
Jesus
like?
called me to run
Yeah.
and lose again.
Right, right. The only thing worse than not being elected president would be to be elected president without God's blessing. Is he trying to?
So does that mean that people get elected who don't have God's blessing because God is that fucking weak?
Right. I mean,
Ooh.
yeah, because if God's all powerful, that should never happen.
Like,
Yeah.
like God is so
He can cast 1 billion
God
votes.
is
Well,
so feckless that
Diane-
he can't even stop somebody being elected to office.
You're so silly, Dan, because you don't even know that every human has free will.
God is so feckless he can't stop anybody from being elected to office, and yet he can somehow heal somebody with cancer.
Yeah, and also I think it's a dig on Obama in there too,
Oh yeah, I'm sure because
without God's blessing, right?
Yeah.
Because Obama's never stated his position.
And he shouldn't have to.
yes, he has several
He
times.
says-
No, I'm saying according to them.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, that's just it. Is that they seem to ignore all the times when he
there's
says
no-
that he's a Christian.
There's no way he's Christian enough, though.
They
According to look, we're talking about Huckabee.
they fuck him over coming and going, right? Like
Yeah, exactly.
They fuck him over for going to church when he was attending services under Pastor Jeremiah Wright, and then they fuck him
Yeah.
over for not going to church, and then they say that he's not a Christian.
Yeah.
How the fuck is he going to win?
Obama could be the fucking Pope and
Does
he
he-
still wouldn't think he's a Christian.
He has fucking Jerry Falwell deliver fucking speeches and prayers as part of the fucking inauguration process.
Yeah.
But he's not a Christian.
Well,
apparently.
he's black.
Yeah.
And he used Abraham Lincoln's Bible to be sworn in.
But you can't say that. I mean, everyone knows. I mean, if racism would be political suicide, so right now it's religious stuff, right? So they can't say that they don't like him because he's black. So they have
Yeah.
to say,
They have to make up another reason.
Yeah.
yeah.
When everybody knows the real fucking reason.
Mhm.
So he said that. Blah, blah, blah. I can't think of a worse place in the world to be than in the Oval Office without God's hand upon you.
Where's the hand placed?
I'd rather not get near to that place.
God is Uncle Touchy.
But if that's a purpose, so be it, and that's my prayer. So, was George W. Bush there by God's plan? Is that
If so, God's plan fucking sucks.
I
yeah,
think George Bush was there by Jack Daniels' plan.
right?
I think it's funny how so many people who flocked to George Bush initially and then completely disavowed him after the presidency, and then now they're trying to reclaim some of his glory. Like George Bush was great and Obama's bad. Fuck you right in the mouth hole. You ignorant fuck.
how has Obama been bad? I mean,
I don't know.
the very worst you could say is that
I was gonna
he
say
hasn't caused waves.
Well, he must be pretty horrible because we've got the largest stock market on history. We've lowered gas prices. Unemployment is at a record low.
GDP is up.
Is
Our
up,
deficit is down.
So he is a horrible, horrible fucking president.
And he did all of that despite the nasty Congress that
yes,
that rejects
despite
everything because of their
100%
racism.
of opposition.
Yeah, because they're fucking racist bigots. And they can't see past party lines to do what's good for the country.
Well,
And he did all that despite them.
they can't see past it because it's not politically expedient. That's all it is. It's only politics.
actually, it would be.
It seems that there are so very few people on Capitol Hill who actually give a fuck about what's going on in America.
Yeah.
All they give a fuck about is getting elected again.
Yep. Well, that's it. But I actually think it would be politically expedient to loosen up just a little bit. I mean, it doesn't seem like to me that there's going to be a majority of American citizens voting for what Boehner and his people are doing in Congress right now.
Right, but they don't give a fuck about the majority. They're looking for who's
Their
going
base.
to elect them, their base, and that's who they appeal and pander to.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking bad.
And they've kind of dug themselves in their own grave, right? I mean, they say all of these atrocious things about the president and Democrats and liberal and progressive policies that then fucking work. And so then what do? Do they switch tactics and say, oh no, I agree with the president on this, this, and this, after saying for so long that he was so fucking wrong, that he's terrible?
Yeah.
Then they're wrong for doing that. But if they continue down the path they're on, they're still wrong, but they'll still get elected again.
Which I with who they have up for possible people to get elected, it's not looking very good.
No, it's not. Well, I guess it depends on who the Democrats throw up there. But
I honestly think it's going to be Hillary.
It seems to me like their base is shrinking so fast. I mean, you've got pockets of them here and there, but everything is like south of St. Louis in little pockets of rural areas where people can barely speak English better than a gray parrot. And they have about the same amount of teeth and
a brain.
You know what I mean?
And they can barely speak better than a gray parrot and have the same number of teeth. That's awesome.
That's what it seems like their base is. That's what that it's just getting smaller and smaller.
You're right. It is getting smaller and smaller,
Right,
and I think that's why we see these desperate. I mean, for me, a lot of the hyperbolic rhetoric that we hear coming out of them is just the death throes of their failed ideology.
Right. Oh God.
I think what wins it for them is the G word.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, exactly.
People are like, well, he's a God-fearing man.
Sure.
And I will only vote for a God-feering man.
And
I
that's
don't know
why
what the fuck is what his platform
and that's why
is.
there's so much focus on religious freedom.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And that's exactly what comes from the McCarthy era.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
These are the
It's a
remnants
Red
of that.
Scare.
Yeah,
this is
exactly right.
This is
The
the
fear
G
of those
scare.
godless heathens.
Right. The gray parrots are squawking. But I can't remember who was saying that oh God, right before the dragon dies, he thrashes his tail kind of thing. Who was saying that? Oh God, I can't remember what that quote is.
I'm not sure either.
I don't know why I'm thinking Aaron Ra, but anyway, yeah. So it's just like it gets more violent right before death.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, who would have even thought there would be a pocket of liberalism in Utah? You know, and Ryan's coming from well, I guess we're both from out. I guess we're both from liberal states, but
No.
is Wisconsin's
a red state.
Is it? Huh.
It's
Mass
not-
isn't
it's
not
not
at all. Mass is
Super red, though, is it?
No, I don't think so.
I think Wisconsin teeters either way sometimes. Like
It's fairly red. I mean, unless you're in like Madison
Or Milwaukee.
or Milwaukee, the bigger metropolitan areas of the state.
Where people are more educated.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I mean, you
And
get
there's
away
more
from
diversity. There's a greater understanding.
But-
yeah, all of the
But
yeah,
here's
all
the
that
thing
stuff.
about Wisconsin. I mean, the God thing could be working there too, because there
Sure.
are a lot of religious people there.
Sure.
Yeah.
And nobody gives a fuck about a fucking watching any debate or any of that or what the fuck is running on. They just want to fucking get drunk, hunt something, and go fishing.
And
Well,
who
and
talks
don't forget about the
God
Butter
more?
Christ sculpture contest every year.
But that's only in the movie. I wish that were real.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but I guess I'm from Mass, which is not at all Republican state in any sense.
I mean, people don't focus
But
on what religion you
even
are
still.
in Wisconsin, but it's still a lot of people are very religious still in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Most is it? What is it up there? It's I know
A
it's
lot of Lutheran,
yeah,
a lot of Catholic.
Catholic and Lutheran, yeah.
Which is funny because I swear I was looking at the dates on some of the old churches right in Oshkosh where I'm from when I was back home for Christmas. And some are like, oh, this place was built in 1890. I'm like, that's only like 50 years after Mormonism started.
Yeah.
This building's almost older than the whole Mormon religion.
Make it a big picture of Christ in his overalls in Oshkosh.
Yeah. That would be funny.
That would
But-
be pretty funny.
I
All in
like
a couple
those buildings.
buckets from just milking the cows.
Yeah.
I like those churches way more than any church here in fucking Utah. Besides
Yeah.
that Russian Orthodox church down there in Salt Lake, it's pretty cool.
There are a
looking
lot of
building.
That's a really
cool looking-
beautiful Catholic
Yeah.
cathedrals around.
The Greek one too is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the Mormon
Lake,
churches are all fucking cookie cutter,
Oh, yeah.
fucking
Yeah.
bland
Yeah.
churches. I'm like,
Yeah.
when I see an old brick laid church from the 1800s or fucking older.
I even
like,
think
that's a cool building. That's some really cool architecture in that.
Well,
like,
yeah, well,
that's
I
cool
even
to
think
look at.
the LDS Temple downtown is a beautiful building.
Sure is,
I mean,
yeah.
the architecture is gorgeous. But when you look at the more modern temples scattered throughout the
all
state
the same.
that are just the fucking white
yeah.
fucking saltine box with windows.
There's nothing.
Oh, God, they're awful.
I
It's
like
a blight on the landscape.
I like when a church looks like a castle.
Yeah.
When they got the cool stone architecture to it and it's actual real giant blocks and they got the cool sculptures on the outside of it.
Oh, yeah.
Even some of them with the really intricate stained glass windows in it.
Yeah.
See, as atheists, we can appreciate religious buildings when they're cool looking architectural buildings.
Yeah, not for their religious
Not for the
grounds,
religious,
but
just
because
for the
they're
architectural.
cool buildings.
Right.
The city, the county building on Washington Square.
Yeah, that's a cool building.
Oh my God, it is so cool.
That's
I
that
love
one,
that building.
That's the one I have that photo of. I did the giant print of at
oh,
night
that's right.
with the lights shining out of it,
Yeah.
and the trees and the
Yeah.
stars and the everything
I think
behind
that is
it.
the coolest building downtown. It is.
Yeah.
I mean, just walking around and seeing all of the things that are sculpted and engraved into the side of the building, and yeah,
And it's just cool
beautiful.
because it's got one city block with nothing around it, just that one
Yeah.
building, boom, dead center.
It's a gorgeous building.
I think that's a total misconception too about atheists. You know, is that like we were talking about earlier, the angry, the hatred and stuff. But it's not us that destroyed the Library of Alexandria. It's not us that destroyed the Bamiyan Buddhas. You know, or any of the other. You know, it's all religious on religious hate.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which is actually kind of one of the more popular straw man arguments against atheists.
Good transition.
There we go. Transitioning.
That was a segue full of win.
We're riding that segue right into
Winning.
straw man fallacies.
Winning. All right. Let's talk about straw man, or it's sometimes called the straw fallacy.
Yeah, I read this study that said that majority of atheists are pretty depressing. So atheists live a very depressing life, and they're very sad, lonely, depressed people.
Right.
So I don't know how you can fight on the side of atheism.
Yeah, that'd be a great example of. Actually, you know, we'll get into that in a minute because there's a whole subcategory called straw atheism.
Oh.
Because there are so many arguments, like what you just illuminated to there.
Yeah.
With
So, are we going to start with the definition of what the straw man fallacy is?
Let's start with the structure of the straw man fallacy. The pattern of the argument is person one asserts proposition X. Person two argues against a false but superficially similar position Y, as if it were an argument against X.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I was going to say, I think we should also point out that just straw man basically means a sham.
Right. Or you're erecting a weaker
Yeah.
argument than the one that was proposed because it's a lot easier to break that down. Hence the name. We'll get into examples and stuff after this because it's a little easier to follow. But this reasoning is a fallacy of relevance because it fails to address the proposition in question by misrepresenting the opposing position. So an example is quoting an opponent's words out of context, choosing quotations that misrepresent the opponent's actual intentions.
Matt Slick.
Any apologist, any one of them. Sci 10 is huge on this.
Oh boy, yeah.
Ray Comfort does this all the time. Yeah, they all do it.
I've only been watching Matt Slick lately because he's been having
how
atheists on his
can
show. Just only because when there's like someone else on it, and it's like, you fucking moron.
Yeah, I don't
guy.
watch it to see Matt Slick. I watch
No,
it to see the
the
other
atheist.
atheist.
Yeah, I saw. I mean, I saw Slick and Eddie Tabash and Slick and Dillhunty, and I've had enough of that guy.
Well, and he turns into such a petulant fucking child
Yeah, dude.
whenever he's challenged
Yeah,
on anything.
he totally is.
I do want to break my TV whenever I watch it.
Yeah, I hate that guy. Well, the thing that drove me. Let's not get on. Well, I'm going to do it.
That was such a quick 720. That wasn't even.
When I saw Slick and Tabash, right, and I like Eddie a lot, and when we talked at the convention and stuff, he's a really cool guy and he's pretty smart and all that. And I like Eddie. He had some great arguments, but what I hated about Matt Slick was he gets up there like a traditional sort of radio TV hey guys, welcome to the morning zoo. Is Matt Slick, and he was getting up there and he wasn't even addressing anything that Tabash was saying. He was just like, oh, I love this stuff. Yeah, you want to get into it? I'll get into it. Well, I love this shit. He doesn't say that, but that's the tone. And I'm just like, dude, fucking argue your point.
Yeah.
Get to it, man. I hate that guy. All right. Let's get into more examples. I didn't want to do it, but I had to. Presenting someone who defends a position poorly as a defender, then denying that person's arguments, thus giving the appearance that every upholder of that position, and thus the position of itself, has been defeated.
Say that part again. I'm sorry.
Presenting someone who defends a position poorly as the defender.
Okay.
Then
so and so said this, so that must be wrong.
Or even someone who is not so great at defending the position necessarily, and you portraying them as the defender of that position.
Okay.
And then denying that person's arguments
as like the authority on it.
Right, thus giving the appearance that every upholder of that position, and thus the position itself, has been defeated.
Like if they use us as an authority on something.
Don't ever do that.
Yeah, sure. This is another one. Inventing a fictitious persona with actions or beliefs which are then criticized, implying that the person represents a group of whom the speaker is critical. Oversimplifying an opponent's arguments, then attacking its oversimplified version. And that's the sort of the crux of the whole straw man argument.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, I have this poster hanging in the podcast studio here, the "Thou shalt not commit logical fallacies" from your logicalfallacyis.com. Love that poster.
Yeah, it's great.
And they sum up a straw man as: you misrepresented someone's argument to make it easier to attack.
Sure.
Yeah.
You're not attacking their argument. You're attacking your modified
version of their argument
that you misrepresented.
Right.
It goes on to say, by exaggerating, misrepresenting, or just completely fabricating someone's argument, it's much easier to present your own position as being reasonable. But this kind of dishonesty serves to undermine honest, rational debate.
Yep.
Not good for debating.
Not good for debating.
Because you're not debating. You're basically putting up a false premise.
Yeah, so...
or a weaker premise.
Yeah, they provide the example of saying, after Will said that we should put more money into health and education, Warren responded by saying that he was surprised that Will hates our country so much that he wants to leave it defenseless by cutting military spending.
Yep.
Which is completely misrepresenting the Will's initial argument.
And also failing to address Will's actual argument.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, if you actually want to have a conversation with somebody to find out what they think and why they think the way they do, you should never employ a straw man fallacy. You should always argue against what the person is saying. Don't misquote them. Don't change what they've said to represent your views and make it easier to attack. Attack their argument. If you can't understand their argument, ask for more clarification. Don't misrepresent it or misrepresent it based on your desire to prove them wrong. I mean, I know that's something that we all do a lot of the time, and it's because we want to win. I mean, nobody likes to be wrong, really. I mean,
right.
We all want to think that we're correct. But when you make the mistake of wanting to only win versus knowing what's right and correct, you often employ straw man fallacy.
Yeah. Or other fallacies, but yeah, straw man's a very popular one.
But the ability to admit when you are wrong is a lot better characteristic to have than
and I think straw man is probably the biggest and most popular one that's employed.
Yeah, I think argument from ignorance is really, really popular.
Yeah.
We'll cover that another time too, but and ad hominems as well.
Argument from ignorance is often employed by those who are ignorant.
Almost exclusively. Yeah. But so is straw man, and so is ad hominem.
Mm-hmm.
Well, any fallacy.
Yeah.
Because they're ignorant of fallacies and logic.
Yeah.
I'll give you a slightly more convoluted example of a straw man. But this was Christopher Tyndale. It was a draft of a bill considered by the Louisiana State Legislature in 2001. And he wrote, whereas the writings of Charles Darwin, the father of evolution, promoted the justification of racism, and his books on the origin of species and the descent of man postulate a hierarchy of superior and inferior races. Therefore, Be it resolved that the legislature of Louisiana does hereby deplore all instances and ideologies of racism, does hereby reject the core concepts of Darwinist ideology that certain races and classes of humans are inherently superior to others, and does hereby condemn the extent to which these philosophies have been used to justify and approve racist practices. Tyndale comments that, quote, the portrait painted of Darwin ideology is a caricature, not one borne out by any objective survey of the works cited, that similar misrepresentations of Darwinian thinking, whatever that is, have been used to justify and approve racist practices is beside the point. But the position that the legislation is attacking and dismissing is a straw man. In subsequent debate, this error was recognized, and eventually the bill was omitted all mention of Darwin and Darwinist ideology.
Misrepresenting Darwin and his theories.
Well, completely. I mean, in that instance, it was actually tying evolution to racism or almost eugenics. Well, not quite, but superior races anyway was mentioned, and the fact that some are better than others, but
which is nowhere in anything to do with Darwin.
Well, it doesn't have anything to do with evolution either.
No,
because there's not really any such thing as more devolved or further evolved or
your skin pigment is all depending on where your forefathers were a million fucking years ago.
Well, yeah, I mean we all started in Africa, but
not quite a million, I think.
When was it? The Great Migration, where we started going across Eurasia, and
I think that was 250,000 years ago.
250,000. Still a long fucking time ago.
Or the humans have been around for 250,000 years.
Yeah, depends on where you're starting, I guess, or who you're asking.
Yeah,
but yeah,
a lumper or a splitter.
I think 250,000 is the oldest I've heard.
I think the oldest I think I've heard it range from 250 to 400.
I've always understood that your skin pigmentation.
Dawkins says 150.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I've always understood your skin pigmentation came from after the Great Migration, where you started you're going up to colder climates. For the closer you got to colder climates, the lighter your skin pigmentation got.
Yeah, well, it had to do with as far as I understand of what they understand.
Yeah.
So I'm talking out of my ass again. Is that it had to do with vitamin D intake from the sun.
Yeah, and the people that were going north were going into colder climates and less sunlight, and they're having to cover their bodies up more, and they have to hunt more,
and so people who absorbed more sunlight tended to survive a little bit better.
But also, I've heard them explain that's why people from like Nordic regions have larger brows that cover up to shade their eyes more from the reflections of suns, and why people have different facial
hairier.
And they're hairier, so they had to stay warmer. That's why Asians can't grow hair.
Well, that went in a weird direction.
No, actually, that's well, I thought of that because I got a buddy who's Asian.
I don't know.
I don't think he's
gets cold as shit, dude. So does Siberia.
Well, he's Asian, and I don't think he's ever shaved in his life.
Okay.
And he's about 40 years old. He straight up says, he goes, I cannot grow up. If I could go without a month without shaving, he goes, you wouldn't notice.
And the North Asians end up becoming at least a fragment of them became the Native Americans.
Yeah. Or
at least according to genetics and anthropology and archaeology.
I thought the Book of Mormon brought them here.
Yes. No, in 600 BC, they came directly from the Middle East on a wooden ship they constructed that somehow navigated
kind of like
all of those
submarines. Yeah.
All of those
other cultures.
Well, Lehi's ship wasn't. You're talking about the Jaredites. Those were like dishes. As it's described.
Flying saucers?
Floating saucers.
Yeah, subaquatic saucers.
Yeah, that'll do a transatlantic trip very well.
Mm-hmm. And then become the largest nation on Earth and leave no trace.
Yes.
Even with metallurgy.
Well, you do know they got that site out there that no one's allowed into, but the Mormons got their own people doing some excavations, and they're finding some pretty interesting things. Mm-hmm. We can't tell you what they are, but they're finding some interesting things.
Yeah, a bunch of stone tools that the Mayans used. No metal whatsoever. So
no steel for sure.
For sure. Well, they didn't. Yeah. Another show. So let's move into straw atheism. And I'm sure
I've never actually heard that term before.
I'm sure we've gotten all of these a bunch of times. Examples would be atheists hate God.
I hate God as much as I hate the leprechaun.
Mm-hmm.
I hate and despise the
Concept.
or the presentation of God as given by so many religious people.
Which God?
Still a straw man, though.
Any religious person.
Yeah. Still a straw man, though.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Atheists believe in nothing. If you don't believe in God, you don't believe in anything.
That would be a nihilist.
Well,
If I believed in nothing, I would believe in God.
nice. So we'll mark that off straw man, and we'll put that on to religious arguments. Atheists reject Christianity specifically. Why aren't you getting mad at Muslims?
Oh, we do.
Oh,
I drew Mohammed and told him to get fucked.
We've done that plenty on this show, but I mean, it's one that they say.
Yeah, you guys, you're terrified of those Muslims. You never mock Islam or Muslims. Bullshit.
Quite often.
Yeah.
We mock every religion.
What about this one? Atheists say they don't believe in God just so they can sin.
I would sin whether I believed in God or not, which also most Christians do.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no evidence at all that Christians behave any better.
Yeah.
But I don't accept the concept of sin anyway, so...
Yeah.
There are enough straw man versions of atheism going around to fill a whole article itself. This is most likely due to the fact that religious apologists that generate these arguments have never been atheists or possibly exaggerate their atheism if they had a later conversion. Like in the case of Kirk Cameron,
Yeah.
claiming to have been an atheist.
Because it just helps his point out.
Well, I mean, it makes it a little more emphatic, but...
He does it in an effort to give himself more credence and more viability, more
I was there.
depth.
And I was so miserable with all my money in Hollywood being an atheist.
That's the way I take it too, but I don't know for sure. But either way, he was never skeptical.
No.
He wasn't an atheist because he arrived at that conclusion.
Right.
You know,
he definitely got better ratings then, though.
Well, and there is a clear difference between being atheist and being a skeptic.
Right.
And I would say that the more of a true skeptic you are, the more inclined you are to be an atheist. But that doesn't mean that all atheists are skeptics.
Right. I would agree. Yeah, because you have people who just were never raised with it and just never adopted the belief, but still accept things like crystals and homeopathy,
that stuff,
that kind of, or aliens or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And so that's obvious, or Bigfoot, whatever it is. That's not skeptical at all.
Right.
But they're still atheists, no doubt.
Now, I'm with the alien thing. I believe there could be life on other planets. 100%. Have they been here? No.
Yeah, I doubt it very much.
Yeah.
The possibility of life on another planet, I think it almost has to exist. Some other star
With the
out
vastness of the universe.
there has to be another place.
Yeah.
According to
that can hold
astronomers
life.
that I trust, yeah. And the even however vague the Drake equation might be, still.
I mean, and by life, that could be a microbe. That doesn't have to mean a walking
there's a
sentient.
a whole nother.
Doesn't have to be intelligent life.
Sure.
I mean, it could be as much as a plant could be considered life. Like, there is life. That thing is alive. It's a plant. It's alive. There is life on this planet.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, the dinosaurs reigned for 150 million years on this planet?
Mm-hmm.
I heard someone say, I think it was actually on Star Talk Radio with Neil deGrasse Tyson, where I was listening to it, like, imagine if that asteroid hadn't have hit the Earth and wiped out the dinosaurs. Could you just imagine these giant reptilian beings walking around now with huge brains that have had these millions of years to evolve to be able to build space rockets and stuff?
What would those rockets look like?
Well, I mean, and all of that would depend on selection pressure, too.
Yeah.
I mean, they reigned unintelligently, quote, compared to humans, for 150 million years without ever gaining intelligence. So who's to say that they would have in the next 65 million?
Well, and they were around for at least 150 times the number of the period of time that humans have been around, right? I mean,
but they had a lot longer to go to get there.
And we often see depictions of dinosaurs living together where you have two different dinosaurs that, you know, in the movies or wherever you see them, oftentimes the two dinosaurs never even lived in the same period.
Yeah.
I mean, dinosaurs were around for a really fucking long time.
Yeah,
They went extinct as well.
Yeah, a really fucking long time, to the point where they had evolved past other dinosaurs that you see in movies living with dinosaurs.
Right.
It would be like a movie depicting humans living with Cro-Magnon
or dinosaurs.
Or dinosaurs,
Yeah.
right?
That's a long enough span there.
Like
Yeah.
the Flintstones.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm just saying, like, dinosaurs lived a long fucking time, but we only have one sample set for life, right? And biologists, at least from what I've heard, tend to do as much as they can with the diversity they've got, right? So they'll calculate how many times eyes have evolved independently, right? Like humans are different from squid and nautilus, and you have various stages and so forth. So they can predict, how many times roughly the eyes
Going from just being able to receive light to receive shapes to color.
I mean, you've got everything from photosensitive cells to pinhole camera lenses to eagles and squids, and right.
Yeah, and by
and then
independently,
wings
you mean like in different areas, completely unrelated to each other.
Right. You're right. That they did not come from the same group, common ancestry.
Right.
And then also wings is another one. Sonar. Right. There's some rudimentary forms in birds and seals and stuff. You get bats,
limbs,
whales,
any kind of limb,
all this kind of stuff, and they could predict intelligence only one time. Only one time. So as far as biology is concerned, as far as I understand what they say, they consider it to be very rare and almost unnecessary in most instances.
Oh, yeah.
It was only a survival tactic for humans in a very short period of time, in a very specific environment. And the dinosaurs lasted 150 million years, never needed it. They were just fine.
Well, wait, they had intelligence though, right? I mean,
okay, but what I guess what I'm talking about, we were talking about like other planets, right, and stuff, and being able to visit Earth and stuff. That would require an intelligence above our own. But to get to that point, pretty rare. As far as biologists on Earth are concerned, with a sample set of one.
Yeah, well, and when we look
I would say dinosaurs were quote intelligent.
Yeah, well, and when we look at the expanse of time,
they're not blasting off anytime soon.
Yeah, when we look at the expanse of time between the Big Bang and when our solar system was formed and the Earth was formed, I mean, Earth has been around for what, 4.3 billion years. The universe has been around for 15 billion.
Yeah, 14 and a half, I think.
Yeah.
15,
So I mean, we're looking at, less than a quarter of the time that the universe has been around.
Yeah.
Our Earth has been around and our solar system has been around. So, I mean, when you think that, at least 3/4 of the time before we even existed, time was going on, I don't think it's all that hard to imagine that in the vastness of the universe, there is life out there. Sure.
Especially when there's
even intelligent life.
Areas that have had a lot longer to be able to sustain life on it because their planet came to be sooner.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it depends on what you mean by intelligent life, but it also depends because I'm just going by what biologists are saying as far as I understand what they're saying, and this is based on a sample set of one, and their assessment is that intelligence, at least as we are concerned, for how we consider ourselves to be intelligent versus everything else, happened only one time, and for every other species has been completely irrelevant. Doesn't even matter to their survival.
Well, I would say like primates are intelligent. Most mammals are intelligent.
Yeah, but they're not making ships.
No, but some are using tools.
Yeah, but they're not communicating intergalactically. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's levels of intelligence.
Yeah, there are, but that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Every single level we're aware of, even though there's a varying degree from dolphins and chimps all the way down to Christians and lizards, whatever. There's a whole varying degree. That was a joke. Well, I thought it would do better.
Well, I'm sorry. Okay. I was thinking about what you had said, where you said, we're not talking about. I think you said intergalactic, but I think you could even shrink that down to say interplanetary.
Yeah, sure. But
no other life forms prior to humans had sought out interplanetary communication.
At least on Earth that we're aware of. Sure. Yeah. That's why I say that we're dealing with a sample set of one, which is very limited.
Right.
And I know you're talking about the time frames. I get that too, but from what I understand, the need for intelligence for a species to survive, not that critical.
Right.
Dinosaurs did it for way longer.
Communicating with other planets is not at all necessary for survival.
Right. And so that skews the numbers a little bit. You may have
I would say probably more than a little bit.
Right, but I'm just saying when you want to elongate the time frame 3 or 4 times what we've had to evolve, sure. But how much does that affect the possibility of intergalactic or interplanetary or travel or communication or even our level of intelligence, which I know.
I have that Carpenters song stuck in my head now.
Which one?
I'll find it. And play a little clip.
Anyway, so it may be the case that it's a futile effort. I don't know, but things are so spread apart, man. I don't know.
Well, I was watching this one thing,
and you'd have to have a race too that was passive enough to not destroy itself by the time it got technology capable of traveling interplanetary travel or intergalactic travel. But it would obviously have the technology to destroy. You know what I mean?
You know what that planet wouldn't have? Religion.
Maybe so.
No need to destroy each other.
You have capacities,
The Carpenters.
Messages through the vast unknown. Please close your eyes and concentrate with every thought you think upon the recitation we're about to sing. Calling occupants of interplanetary craft.
Yeah, I hate that song. I've never heard it before, but I hate that song.
I'm much older than you are. And my mom was big into the Carpenters, so.
Oh, okay.
I have this whole Rolodex of Carpenters songs constantly tumbling through my head.
Nice.
Anyway.
I forgot where we were at.
Who knows what?
I derailed the podcast with a shitty song. I'm sorry.
It was somewhat relevant. It was an intelligent being singing about space stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know how accurate it was, just talking about how we became intelligent and basically associating the size of your stomach to the size of your intelligence by saying that.
Did you say the Earth's stomach?
No, our stomach.
Oh.
Like humans, saying that once we devised a way, as Cro-Magnon man to start have fire and be able to cook and have protein, that protein and be able to cook and not have to, forage for food as much and finding an easier way to, harvest the food, basically started to grow our intelligence and gather bigger brains and our stomachs shrank.
From what I've heard, that's part of it because the protein you're able to absorb is at a higher concentration in cooked foods. But then also that because we weren't so aggressively hunting and killing with our mouths, we could use our hands. We were walking up and stuff like that. That we lost the skull ridge on the top that connected jaw muscles, and so that ridge going away allowed our skull to be able to expand, which allowed brain capacity.
It's a multifaceted evolutionary advance.
Yeah. Thank you, fire.
Yeah.
Without that smart fucking Cro-Magnon man going with 2 rocks.
Well, it was way before then.
Lightning,
It was way before then.
Way about that fire.
Have you ever seen the movie Quest for Fire?
This may
be another thing that I'm much older than you, and so
I still watch a lot of black and white movies. So
there's no dialogue other than like grunting.
Okay,
but it's Quest
so
for
it's
Fire.
So it's kind of like the opening to Space Odyssey, with the ape guys grunting and smashing bones and hopping around.
There's much less
megalith.
grunting. Yeah, there's much less grunting.
Oh, okay.
But it's, lightning strikes and creates a fire and they learn how to use it and everything. And then the whole movie is this quest to keep the fire alive. And if it goes out to find more, and because they couldn't, they didn't have a means or hadn't figured out a way to create it themselves. Yeah. It was interesting. It was kind of like, what's The Gods Must Be Crazy? Have you seen that one?
I don't know.
Where somebody flying over Australia, I believe, throws a Coke bottle out of a plane, and an indigenous person finds this glass Coke bottle.
That sounds semi-familiar.
They've never seen anything like it before, and they take it back to the tribe, and it just results in this chaos within the tribe of everybody wanting to use this hard material that they're using to roll out different things and pound on different things and make music with, and they're doing all kinds of things with this Coke bottle, and so it starts tearing their tribe apart because everybody's fighting over the possession of this bottle, And so one of the tribesmen decides that he's going to get rid of this evil thing and like runs across the country to try to dispose of it so that nobody else can use it.
And then find civilization and realize there's millions of Coke bottles.
Yeah. The gods must be crazy because they, it falls from the sky and because it's a bottle, you can hear it whistling as it comes down and it hits the ground, and they're like, oh, this is a gift from the gods. They must be fucking crazy because this thing has done nothing but harm to our happy little tribe.
So it should have came up from underneath the ground from Satan.
working to do all of this harm within our tribe.
You blow on it and it makes crazy sounds. Must be evil.
Clearly. There's the Gods Must Be Crazy. I think they even made a sequel. Gods Must Be Crazy too. Yeah. Have you seen that one, Matt?
I've seen the first one.
Yeah.
I'll have to look for it. 'Cause it actually does sound familiar for some reason, but
yeah. You may have seen it when you were a wee lad. Hey, while you're in there,
while you're
in there rummaging for beers, I'll take one of those. Actually, if you want to hand me the Lagunitas there in the door.
I actually bought some of those last week at the State Rand Liquor Store. I'm good right now.
Thank you, sir. So what else we got?
I'm all dried up on stories. Where did I put my phones? As I check my pockets, it's on the floor.
We got one more news item.
Still straw atheism. I mean, I could wrap it up.
Sure.
What usually unites straw arguments against atheism is that they're constructed when a specific religion thinks it's all about them, thus ignoring the main point of atheism, that it's not the rejection of all that it is the rejection of all religious belief equally.
Mm-hmm.
Further common ones include the assertion that atheists believe in nothing.
Well, yeah, that goes back to the argument. You never talk about Muslims.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
or that. Further common ones include the assertion that atheists believe in nothing, which seems to confuse it with the distinct concept of nihilism. Even then, belief in nothing is a slight straw man of nihilism. Or that they lack a moral code or any concept of morality. The latter either stems from or forms the base of the argument from morality, but is easily refuted simply by looking at the behavior of atheists, which is most conveniently done by examining the crime statistics of secular countries. Or
the crime statistics of the United
religious
States.
Countries and the prison populations.
Yeah.
Although those can be slightly skewed.
Well, they can be skewed because of lack of education, lack of resources.
But also because there are certain benefits to confessing a belief, and certain relief of.
But only within a country that has a quasi de facto theocracy in place, right? I mean, you only get benefit of religious belief where religious belief is encouraged.
Right. Well, that happens in the U.S.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And so when dumb fucks like Huckabee, you're welcome. When dumb fucks like Huckabee say that we're living in a secular theocracy, whatever the fuck that means.
Yeah. Well,
he's so easily shown to be completely fucking wrong.
Yeah. Is that a straw man? Secular theocracy? I think it is. It's an exaggeration or misrepresentation of
secularism.
Well, but it's not an argument. But
yeah,
I think it still is, though.
I guess I tend to use
it's hyperbolic for sure.
Yeah. I guess I tend to use the term straw man fallacy when debating somebody specifically. So if he had been rebutting somebody else's argument and had said that, I would say, yeah, definitely that's a straw man fallacy.
It doesn't have to be a rebuttal, though.
Yeah,
you could pose a straw man like Mike Huckabee, who's not here to debate me. I could just say, you're a Bible believing Christian. That means you want slaves. That's a straw man for sure.
Yeah,
but that might be true.
It might be, but
it's still a straw man because you can't draw a line from being Christian to wanting to own slaves.
Yeah, although
at least these days, yeah.
But I don't know. I think a secular theocracy could be considered there might be other fallacies that suit it better, but
Yeah.
It doesn't.
I
make
think it's
sense.
a straw man for sure.
Yeah.
It's easier to combat.
I think he's just using the popular words for like a defense. Because people right now hear the word secular and like, oh,
In an exaggerated way.
we can't have that. We can't have secularism. That's just like one step away from communism.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're still basically describing a straw man, though.
Yeah.
I think that is.
Can I make a little embarrassing admission here right now?
What?
To say that I did not really know what secularism or secularist meant until maybe a year ago.
Really?
Yeah, I hadn't really ever given it any thought. And it was actually the release of the movie. Fuck me, I can't
Noah.
think of the name of it. No, it was the one with the alien and
Alien vs. Predator?
no, it was a comedy.
Paul?
Yes, it was with
holy
Paul.
shit! I never would have remembered that movie.
It was the release of Paul, where Kristen Wiig is talking to one of the guys, and she's like, "Oh, show me your secular ways."
Yeah.
And then I was like, "What the fuck does that even mean? What is
Really?
a secular way?" And so then I learned what secular means.
Interesting.
And prior to that, I didn't really know.
When you were waving your hands around, I thought maybe you were talking about seeing War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise. I mean, not that
Was I acting like a maniac, jumping on a couch?
not that you saw him with him. He's in it.
Yeah,
You didn't see it with Tom Cruise.
And I think that movie's actually like,
I liked that movie.
I thought it was funny because the guys that made it are atheists and they were making fun of religion in it quite a bit.
Scientology. Have you? Oh, that was.
That documentary.
I really, really, really want to see this.
I do too. I can't wait for it to come out now.
So the article I posted that was talking about this movie that's being released at Sundance.
It's called Clear, or
it's something to do with that because it ties into the Scientologist
yeah.
notion of getting clear of thetans.
yeah,
Anyway, I had read several articles years and years ago talking about the current head of the Scientologist Church. And in the article that I posted online on Facebook, it addressed a lot of the different things that I had heard about him, that he's very abusive to some of the members, that he beats people, that, he's this really terrible guy. The one thing that article that I posted didn't mention that I had heard is that he may also be tied to, implicated / responsible for the disappearance of L. Ron Hubbard. Oh, yeah. In order to take over as being head of the church. And so, yeah, I'm really excited to see that when it's released. The article said that HBO had to hire a cadre of attorneys in order to be able to fend off all of the legal attacks,
Yeah.
which is the Church of Scientology's main way of handling any criticism of it. And then it will eventually just be released on HBO as a movie. So, yeah,
Well,
I really look forward to watching that.
I don't have HBO, so I hope it comes out on Netflix sometime,
Probably.
or Amazon. It'll probably be on Amazon Prime where I can buy it
Yeah,
for a pretty good price.
yeah. And if not, I have my HBO Go password that I can give you.
They're actually looking at making HBO Go available to non-HBO subscribers.
Which I think is fucking fabulous. I
Yes.
think everybody should do that.
HBO, Showtime, all those.
I don't understand how it's taken so long for different media companies to not realize that is a huge, huge area where they can make a shit ton of profit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, honestly, all forms of media entertainment should be available on demand at the drop of a hat by subscription if you choose to do so. You shouldn't have to, I have DirecTV here, and I have the premium plus package or whatever, where I get, all of the local channels, all of the extended basic, I get all of the local channels, all the basic cable channels, extended basic channels, and the premium channels, and then some extended premium channels. And it costs me a fuck ton every month. I would love to be able to just subscribe to those services and companies and media outlets that I want to see shit from. If I could just subscribe to HBO, Showtime, Netflix, the things that I actually want to pay money for, fuck yeah, I would drop cable in a heartbeat.
Do you have a Sunday ticket?
I did, but that shit, it got to be over $600 a year for that shit.
You are a crazy Raiders fan if you have Sunday ticket.
Yeah. No, because
Then you just pay to watch them lose.
I have had the Sunday ticket in the past, but because the Raiders have eaten shit so because they've eaten so much shit for so long, I haven't had the Sunday ticket for the past couple of years.
Winning's all about PSI.
So says the New England Patriots.
All about the PSIs.
I'm excited for the game on Sunday.
Passes, sacks,
I
and
will not be
interceptions.
watching it.
Nice. You will not be watching it?
Nope.
Will you be working?
I wouldn't either. If
I will be in a yurt up in the Uinta Mountains skiing.
A yurt?
A yurt.
What is a yurt?
A yurt is like a tent, but it's not a tent.
Oh,
It's a tent, but not a tent.
it's one of your Mowgli things.
It's a
It's
logical
got
contradiction
walls.
of itself.
It's made of mostly canvas.
Does it have walls or a wall that is
Walls.
circular?
Circular. It's a circled shape building.
So it's like a teepee?
No, because it doesn't go up to a point. It's domed.
Yeah.
They have wood-burning stoves in them, bunk beds, benches.
Is this a Mongolian thing?
Mongolians were the ones that used them quite a bit, but they haven't built up to their permanent up there.
From
you
what-
rent them.
From what type of material is a yurt traditionally constructed?
Traditionally, like olden times.
Yak skin.
Yeah, skins.
Yeah.
It was because it used to be really mobile, so you'd set it up real quick and take them down real quick. But these are permanent yurts that are up there, and you just go up there and you got them rented out. And I think the first day is a really quick day on Sunday. We're just skiing in, cross-country skiing in about 3 miles, staying at the first yurt, and the second yurt is about another 6
Jesus
miles
Christ.
past that.
I'm a fat old guy who I hear cross-country skiing into a yurt at 3 miles going, nope.
with about 50 pounds on your back.
I was already thinking about beer and nachos for Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah, with all your food and beer and clothes and sleeping bag and all your
I'll
gear
be
on your back.
planting my ass on the couch, except for the intermittent breaks to get snacks or beers during the football game.
Okay.
I know. And I'm only, God, I know. Jesus was ripped. I'm his age, but I'm probably still 5 inches taller, but
Yeah, but you aren't doing all that carpentering.
I'm so fat and lazy that I've been invited to a few different Super Bowl parties, and instead of going anywhere else, I'm going to sit my happy ass on my own couch in my own house, drinking beer that I don't have to take with me somewhere else.
That's why I'll bring like a big bottle of vodka with me, Crystal Light, so I can use the Crystal Light as a mixer with some water and the vodka.
You can just melt snow.
That's what we do. Actually, we have to melt snow unless we don't want to find water.
Nice.
But here's the crazy thing: is you take a big pot of snow and you melt it, and you got like
tiny.
you start off
water.
with like 2 feet high of snow, and you get down to the end, it's like, oh, there's 2 inches worth of water.
isn't it like 6 to 1?
It's a horrible ratio. So you got to
1
keep
to 6,
adding and
whatever.
adding
Yeah.
and adding snow to it. And if you do not add water to your snow, you get the process of sublimation,
where it
you're
goes directly from a solid to a gas,
and you get nothing.
Yeah.
People don't realize that one's like, you can't just melt snow. You have to have water in order to start the
Or
process.
else it will sublimate. It's the same reason that your ice cubes, when set in the freezer for a very long time, will appear to shrink.
Yep.
They go from a solid to a gas.
Yep.
Cool.
So I don't know if we have much left here, but I got something to play here right at the end for us all
Okay.
to listen to.
What's that?
It's L. Ron Hubbard's grandson.
Oh, he's so cool. I watched a couple of different things with
Have you
him
ever seen
talking
that
about.
really, they call it that powerful, this one's labeled powerful performance, but I'm fairly certain it's the one where he goes through his grandfather and talking about having to change his name and basically saying, fuck you,
Yeah.
L. Ron Hubbard.
Yeah, I'm not even going to carry your name with me anymore.
But I got that right here.
Let's hear it.
Bye, y'all.
Yeah, are we done?
We're pretty close to done. We might say goodbye at the end of this. I don't know. We'll have to see how it goes.
Okay.
Every family has their black sheep. On my mother's side, our black sheep was a shepherd who enslaved his own flock. The king of the Khans, a man who made himself a messiah, even though he never called himself a god. Even tonight, his words are written in steel and titanium capsules in a nuclear-reinforced bunker miles underground, so if our whole species goes extinct, his words will still survive. He was a subject we never talked about at the kids' table at family reunions, but he was my great-grandfather, L. Ron Hubbard. Lafayette Ron Hubbard. He was born a storyteller, a science fiction writer. A golden-tongued grifter who could write a book in any genre while the publisher waited downstairs in the hotel lobby. Just another name on dime store pulp mags, paid only a penny a page until 1949 when he said, "You want to know how you really get rich? You start a religion." A year later, he kept to his word, wrote Dianetics, transforming science fiction into fact, until you could pay to flatline your mind for a fee. Overnight, he went from pennies to a prophet, until the world demanded to see his evidence. But L. Ron knew if you don't have facts, all you need is faith. So he turned his science into a religion, and Scientology was born. A few years later, his son arrived, a baby who had survived an early abortion attempt, born premature at 2 pounds, 2 ounces, abandoned by his father as he sought fame and fortune. Now he emerged to take his parts of the new family business. He was my grandfather, L. Ron Hubbard Jr. Carrying his father's name and his red hair, Junior became his right-hand man and was a devout disciple and a believer, helping him to construct the church. And it took him years to realize he was only another accomplice. Trained in the arts of electrified hypnotism, blackmail, and beatdowns, he learned to hide his crimes behind his charisma. And it took him a decade to see the holes behind the holy, the man behind the myth, his father. Stuffing thousands of dollars in a shoebox he kept secret underneath the bed, his father. Burning incriminating documents before dawn, his father. Escaping criminal charges as he ran from state to state as Junior watched his family and friends' brains washed, banks broken. Sickened by what he had seen behind the curtain, in 1959, Junior left. But his father always understood retribution better than redemption, and he stalked his son with wiretaps, break-ins, and death threats. My grandfather coming home to photographs of his children in his mailbox, playing on playgrounds, alone and unguarded, to remind him the eye of the pyramid never blinks. While every one of my aunts and uncles were taught how to use a gun, the son forced to live like his dad, permanently on the run until he changed his last name from Hubbard to DeWolf. A lie to protect him from ever having to tell the truth. When your father has created a religion in your lifetime, there's no sun big enough to ever escape his shadow. But there's a thin line between prophecy and psychosis, and the barefaced Messiah ran from countries and criminal charges, an international outlaw on a ship, escaping extradition, his sanity slipping as he started confusing his past from his fiction, until one day he vanished before a courtroom or a jail cell could ever make him real again. Junior, now buried under debt, tried to flush his father out of hiding to write him a check. So he litigated the Holy Ghost to prove he still had flesh. The son took his war public to scrape the idol's gold down to rust. Junior, now a dying diabetic with an amputated foot, buried and battered from a decade of lawsuits against the man who carried his same name, until the day his dad died in hiding, cremated the next morning, leaving only a legacy of ashes. The church gave the son one final offer: arrest your tongue, swallow the truth for one final check, or you and your next of kin will face a lifetime of threats. So he signed away his silence and took his secrets and 2 heart attacks to his grave. Another victim the church stopped pretending to save. On Thanksgiving, in a house a self-made God paid for, his great-grandchildren never said his name. He was the one God we never gave grace to. One day, my grandfather led me to a bookshelf and showed me volumes of his father's works. He said, "Your mom says you want to be a writer. Well, don't believe everything you read, but believe everything you say." I never met the man who gave me my red hair, the manic depression still twisted in the strains of my DNA. And the first time I saw a psychiatrist, when he asked me if mental illness runs in my family, all I could say was yes. Yes, it does. When I told him my great-grandfather was a cult leader that enslaved the minds of millions, he accused me of having delusions of grandeur. What can I say? It runs in my veins. I've been in secret to L. Ron Hubbard Hollywood life exhibits, where his latest victim leads me on a tour of a life he never led, my family written out of existence. And this disciple will never know the legacy of lies that I still carry in my last name. The wolf, a cover story to protect us from my great-grandfather's true children, the army of empty, who greet me in train stations with an e-meter and a personality test, and they ask me if I've ever heard of L. Ron Hubbard. And I want to ask them, which one? The son or the father? The God or the man?
There you go.
Yeah, I've seen that before. That's awesome.
That's my first time, and I gotta say, the storytelling runs in the family.
Hey, he does a good job with
Yeah,
that.
that was really good.
A great job. That's intensely sobering.
Yeah.
I heard that about a year or two ago, maybe.
Yeah.
I still, when you started talking about, I'm like, there's that guy that's his, like grandson or something. And, yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, that is cool.
All right. I guess that about wraps it up for tonight.
Bye, y'all.
Until next week.
Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you on the interwebs. If you've got a question, send us an email at godlessrebelution@gmail.com or post on our Facebook page. We'd love to interact with you.
And before we forget, Podcast Phil is still going on right now.
That is correct. How dare I be
Forgetfuls.
How dare I not mention it? That is correct. Podcast Phil is still going on. I can at this time say that the family that we have been helping is the Shaw family. Forrest Shaw and his lovely family. For those of you who don't know, Forrest was and or is a regular on The Left Show, one of my favorite podcasts. And Forrest is a great guy. His family has gone through a whole lot. Forrest has been diagnosed with stage 4 prostate cancer, terminal. He's been out of work for quite a while. They've had some other serious medical issues within the family. Currently, they're at risk of losing their home because he is sick, and we are hoping to stop that. So if you can, please visit podcastphil.com and make whatever donation you can in order to help a guy who I love. He's a really great guy. Please go there, donate what you can. And we have some more announcements coming up for this in the future. There's been talk of a benefit concert in the near future in order to help them. So go and check it out. We'll have more information shortly. I would imagine by next week's show we'll have more information on the benefit concert.
And if you're not helping out someone in need, you're not atheisting right.
Yep.
Well, thanks again, everybody.
Yeah.
We'll see you next week.
Fuck you, pay for chemo.